So I wanted to show you how in this video to save our file in a couple different ways, or export our file in two ways. One, to export as a GIF for use in the web, and another to render a video. So let me start with the GIF file. So here's my little example animation. It's built with several frames of layers. That to kind of toggle on and off to show the wave pattern, and then I've got some other layers that I kind of move around, and some that stay still. It's very simple. It's meant to create some calm or express calm. I'm ready. I previewed my animation. I got it all set up just like I want it, and now I'm ready to render or to export. So I'm going to start by going up to File and Export and save for web. So we're going to use this legacy option, which is kind of the best way to get your GIF set up for web use. So save for web, legacy. And when I go there, it's going to give me a dialog box with a bunch of choices. My file's pretty big, and so it's acting kind of slow because I have so many layers in this gradient and the animation settings. I think I have an effect on a layer. Yeah, so all that stuff kind of slows things down. Once this opens, I want to just run through a few options and show you what happens when you turn on and off the dither and select the colors. So I think this is set for my previous example. But what I like to try first is go with some of these presets at the top. So what this is talking about, dithered, no dither, JPEG, PNGs. So the JPEG and the PNG files are going to be static images. We want a GIF because that's the only image that's going to save the sequence and play the sequence. And no dither, I'll show you. No dither is going to take each color and kind of put it into these striped like shapes. So for example, on my gradient of my sun, you can see how it's just like created stripes. The dither is going to try to preserve a little bit of that gradient. So I'm switching it over, and I'll show you what I mean when it loads. So the dither does a little bit better. We can play with some settings also here. So I think selective or perceptual are fine for this option. And then diffusion, pattern, noise, these are just the different ways that it's going to try to blend from one color to the other. I'll try noise and show you what that does. So essentially, if you've got an illustration or animation and it's mostly flat colors, flat lines, not a lot of gradient or value change, like gradual change of color or value, you can do no dither. It's not necessary. But if you have like photoreal images, so any kind of photographic image and any kind of gradient like image, then you're going to want to have the dither on. So the other thing I can do here, I think, so you can see noise and how that ended up a little bit, it's sort of pixelated, right? But it's trying to show that gradual change a little bit in a different way. The other thing that will help is to put on full colors, the maximum colors. So right now in my color table, you can see I have this many colors that it's recognizing. If I do have 256, which is sort of like the max for web, it will look a little smoother. And so it's up to you. If it's a small little graphic that you're putting on a website, it doesn't have to have this much color detail. But if you're wanting it to be, like we are, an illustration that moves, then we sort of want the highest quality that we can get. So play with those settings, and always you get this preview to see what it's looking like, and that's pretty good. I like that. If I zoom out, I think it looks like a soft glow, what I was trying to get. Okay, so you can see my color table now has a lot more colors there, right? Including the transparency. So the other thing under here that we could adjust, or something that's good to know, the image size. So our document, we were working with 1080 by 1080, which is quite large for web images. That's like a whole website might be 1080, right? I wanted us to work big so we could always scale it down. So if you wanted to change the percentage, for example, like to 50%, half the size, this is an opportunity. So before you send your file or save your file to GIF, you can change the size. The last thing to check is the looping options for the animation. You can have it play once, or you can have it play forever, which means it'll just continue to loop. So give it a little preview and see if that's looking the way that you want it to look. Otherwise, come back and play with some of these settings. Okay, so here are my settings. They're working for my image. I'm going to save. So click the save button, and it's going to take us to a place where we, I think, save to the desktop, or tell it where we want it to save, what we want to call it, etc. And it's taking a while. And this file looks pretty big. Look, it's like 5 megabytes. Okay, maybe it's smaller than that. Because I have kind of all the high quality. Oh, maybe it's 1 megabytes in the end. Okay, so I'm saving this just as the name, column GIF, and to my desktop. And then previously we talked about how you needed to save it as HTML and images. You can do it that way. You can also do images only. HTML and images will give you an HTML file and a folder that has an images folder that has the GIF file in it. But if you wanted to get straight to the GIF file, choose the format images only and save. And I'll show you what to do with that when you get it. It's saving. Okay, close this. So here's what came to my desktop, this little GIF file. And so here's a common mistake, or a kind of a common anxiety. If I double click this to open up the file, I'm like, it's just a bunch of still images. That's not what I wanted, right? It goes like 30 frames or something crazy. That's okay. That's what a GIF is. It's a sequence of images. In order to preview and make sure you saved it correctly to get the animation to work, you can, on a Mac, you can select it and then touch the space bar to preview. So that's working, right? And another way to test it is I can drag it to a browser. So I'm just dragging it over to Safari. You can also open with, right-click and open with a browser, any web browser, and it'll preview it. It'll play it in the browser window. So now I know that works. And that's all you have to do. And of course, I'll go back to my Photoshop file, and I want to save my Photoshop file because that's what's going to preserve all my layers and my timeline and all the work there. Okay, so that's how I export to a GIF. If that's all you want to do, you're done. If you also want to see how to export into a video, I'll show you that. So because I made a timeline, I actually started with frame-by-frame animation, then I converted it to timeline because I wanted to move my cloud slowly across the frame. And so now I have this timeline window down here, the video animation. I have the option, if I click on more options in the hamburger menu, to render video. And if I had an audio track down here, for example, I could bring in a little bit of audio in the timeline at the bottom. It would include the audio too, which is pretty cool. So again, I'll keep the same name. It's going to save it to what's called an MP4 file, which is a movie file. I can select the folder where I want to send it to. I'm going to send it to the desktop. And this format, H.264, is a really good high quality compression. So it compresses it a little bit, but it's really good quality. And then I always make sure that my preset is high quality. You know, it depends on what you're sending it to. Like if you want this video to play on a certain widescreen TV, or you're going to put it on Vimeo or YouTube, there's some settings down there for that. High quality is sort of general use. I can also change the size here, just like in the other one. And the GIF export, so if I don't want it to be 1080 by 1080 and I want it to be 800 by 800, I'm going to keep it 1080 by 1080. I mean, I just want to make sure that I have the square proportions the same, right? But you can change the size there before you send it to video. And then finally, the frame rate. We always want to use the document frame rate. Whatever you've been working on in your document and previewing, and you like the movement, you don't want to change the frame rate because that will change the timing or the look, right? The speed of things. So that's it. I hit render and it's exporting a video. And I kind of wish I had the little sounds of waves crashing to go with mine now, but so let me drag over what that file looks like. So this is what came to my desktop, an MP4, and I can preview that also with the space bar. Gives me a little play preview. It will also open up in any kind of video program that I have. So open with QuickTime Player. It's going to open and play. Just once, right? No loop, just a one-time through. Yeah, and then that's a little video file that you could also use to embed in things or upload to social media, things like that. Okay, so those are the two ways you can save your files or export your files for use. And as always, save your PSD file, your raw file, to have all of that work that you've done. And if you ever need to come back to it and change the timing or anything like that. That's all. Thanks.